Hi, I'm Chris Thompson.
And I'm Charles Galpin.
Today is July 18th.
And this is Oxford in America.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Oxford in America. We're starting today's episode here at the National Mall in downtown Washington, D.C., and as you can see, it's springtime and the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. In this episode, we're going to follow Oxford along her journey across America with stops at the Jaguar Land Rover North America headquarters in Mahwah, New Jersey. We're going to take a trip on an off-road trail in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and we're going to catch up with our friends from the Sinister podcast in Pennsylvania to visit Gettysburg National Military Park and the city of Pittsburgh. But first, let's talk about things that might have been. As you may remember from episode 1, we left off our story of Oxford in America at the start of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. Part of our original plan was to make Oxford's visit include all of North America and not just the United States. Oxford was supposed to cross the border into Canada and visit with our friends from Ottawa Valley Land Rover Club. Unfortunately, the pandemic had other ideas. Ottawa is the capital city of Canada and lies in the province of Ontario. It's also home to the Ottawa Valley Land Rover Club.
Kevin Newell, I'm the president of the Ottawa Valley Land Rovers Club, and you know what? I'm going to let Dixon Kenner tell us all about the history of the Ottawa Valley Land Rovers.
Well, OVLR actually was the first chapter club established by the Association of Land Rover Owners of Canada, which is actually one of the oldest clubs in North America for while it lasted. It's as old as the Virginia Club, which David is now running. OVLR was started in 1984 and continues on today.
Ottawa Valley Land Rovers is known for our annual birthday party. That's our premier event. And that's held at the end of June every year, and it has been for, 39 years now. And that's our biggest bash. I mean, we've had as much as a couple of hundred trucks and all the family participants. And it's generally been held around the same location near Silver Lake, Ontario and Maberly. And we have an area that we use that is free camping, and then we coincide with the provincial park at Silver Lake.
Around our birthday party site, or sites, now mostly we've been there for 20, 25 years, there are a lot of old railway beds that we ride on occasion, and also some colonial roads. They've been there for 100 years, or more, and they join up maybe between small towns or counties and whatnot. So we like to find those when we can, and Oxford would have been happy, I think, to travel on some of those.
And what they mean by colonial roads, the colonization trails were used by the federal government of Canada to entice European immigrants into the Ottawa Valley. And they actually just basically cut roads into the middle of nowhere and said, here, go and occupy this land, build a homestead, and you get it for free if you stay there for a year. And it turns out the Ottawa Valley is full of rocks and you can't farm it. So all these people created all these towns, and they couldn't farm jack squat. But all these roads are called colonization trails to this day, and that's what they're referring to, these colonization trails. And throughout that, they're still there today, and you can find these ghost towns all throughout the Ottawa Valley, where for over 100 years, they tried to make a go of it, and then they turned from farming to logging, which is what created the entire city of Ottawa and the Ottawa Valley. It was logging. And they moved from farming to logging, and then these towns disappeared as everybody moved towards the river and then towards the urban center of Ottawa. So they're called colonization trails. You reached out to me, Dave. I was obviously quite excited, and excited is a good word. I mean, at least I knew the history of Oxford and Cambridge, and it was a great opportunity for us to participate in this wonderful adventure that Oxford has been doing, going around the globe. And when you first reached out, it was like, okay, I got to talk to the rest of the executive and see what we can do with this. And very quickly after you and I chatted, we discussed the opportunity, and we're all very keen to participate. My plan in talking to the executive was to get Oxford off the trailer once we bring it across the border and do a trundle from the border through these communities just south of Ottawa, through East Oxford, which is exactly as it sounds. It's east of Oxford Mills, and Oxford Mills is exactly what you think. It's a mill town, and Oxford Station is exactly what you think it would be. It's a small town where the stagecoach used to go, and all of these communities helped form part of Oxford-on-Rideau Township, which has been continuously occupied for several hundred years just south of Ottawa. And we wanted to bring it through those towns and have the pictures, beside the signs, and then get it to Ottawa. And our intent was to have Oxford do a static display with the new opening of the dealership. And just before that, just before our birthday party, was to have it coincide with the opening of the dealership, get it to the birthday party, let some of our series crazy people take it out on some light trails and not do too much damage to it, and do a static display with Oxford, and then get it going back to the States after the birthday party. And we had several members working on that, coordinating all these different activities that we wanted to do. And that journey from the American border, and the intent was to bring it across at Prescott from upstate New York in Ogdensburg. And from there, like I say, get it off the trailer, have it do a trail, back onto the trailer, get it to the new dealer, and then get it to the birthday party and have our party. And Oxford was going to be the central focus of that. Obviously, representing the heritage of the brand and the heritage of what Oxford has done. It was unfortunate. We had a lot of stuff ready to go, but alas, we elected to err on the side of caution and not bring Oxford across the border.
Moving on from things that might have been to things we actually did, let's rejoin Oxford where we left off in northern New Jersey. We had just completed engine repairs on Oxford, and I thought before we left, this was a good chance to take a short detour and visit Jaguar Land Rover North America headquarters in Mahwah. Mahwah, New Jersey is located in the northern part of the state and lies just 30 miles to the west of New York City.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe Stovall. I'm the PR and Communications Manager for Land Rover USA. When I pulled into the parking lot and I saw it waiting for me, it was just amazing. It was such a great feeling. And understanding what we were going to be doing and sharing some good news with the Land Rover and Jaguar employees across the U.S., showcasing this wonderful vehicle was such a great opportunity for us. So when Oxford actually came to headquarters, it was a little bit of a very unique situation, as pretty much the building was empty. So given that we're in the midst of COVID times, and it was really unusual because it was actually the first time I was at the building in a very long time. But when I pulled into the parking lot and I saw it waiting for me, it was just amazing. It was such a great feeling. And understanding what we were going to be doing and sharing some good news with the Land Rover and Jaguar employees. We had a Tasman Blue brand new 110. It was actually one of the first press cars that we had, and we were able to get some really great shots of the two of them together, which we leveraged not only for internal employee communications, but also we showed these vehicles off on the Land Rover social media channels. For me personally, when I saw this car and just understanding its history and its heritage, I got really excited because it really creates and reinforces the Land Rover DNA. I was all over it. I had my personal cell phone camera out and I was able to take some really cool shots of the car. I love the front two gas tanks with gin and tonic, and I was able to share that with my friends on my personal social media accounts. It's just such a great opportunity, and it's one of the joys of working in this role, to be able to look at the history of our products and to know just where this vehicle has been and the feats that it's gone through. And to see it show up in Ottawa next to a brand new Defender, it was just quite the experience.
Finished with New Jersey, Oxford was loaded back on the trailer for her next 300-mile journey south down Interstate 95. To add to the adventure, we had the pleasure of stopping not once, but twice for tire blowouts on Oxford's trailer. Eventually, we made it to our next destination, Virginia. Once there, Oxford picked up some new friends and headed out to the Peters Mill Run off-highway vehicle trail located in the George Washington National Forest. Peters Mill Run is a mild, 6.5-mile-long track that runs through the forest in the Shenandoah Valley in the northwest corner of Virginia. It is managed by the National Forest Service and provides an opportunity for off-road driving to a wide variety of vehicles. Joining Oxford on this trip is Chris Thompson and his wife, Satasha.
Hi, I'm Chris, and this is my wife, Satasha, and this is my 2018 Ford F-150 Raptor. This is the Ford Performance 3.5-liter EcoBoost motor. It's the souped-up version that has twin turbos on it, creating 450 horsepower and 510 foot-pounds of torque.
The Ford F-Series pickup is recognized as the best-selling automobile in the world with approximately 1 million units sold annually. It is the quintessential American vehicle, making it a suitable host for today's outing with Oxford. Driving Oxford today is Charles Galpin.
Hi, my name is Charles Galpin. I live in Chantilly, Virginia. I've been a member of the Rover Owners Association of Virginia since about 2004 when I got into Land Rovers.
The purpose of today's trip is a shakedown cruise to see how Oxford is performing after the extensive engine work completed just 1 week earlier by Ben Smith in New Jersey. The trip included a 162-mile loop, starting and ending in the suburbs west of Washington, D.C. It is the perfect opportunity for Oxford to stretch your legs while we all enjoy a day driving in the country. Our trip began with first removing Oxford's top. With temperatures forecasted to be 95 degrees Fahrenheit, we thought we'd enjoy the extra breeze and sunshine of the day. We started our journey making our way across rolling countryside, through picturesque villages, and down winding roads until we ended up in the small community of Ford Valley. Here, we stopped in at the Fort Valley Country Store to purchase our National Forest off-highway vehicle permit and a few snacks for the outing. From there, it was just a short and dusty ride down a gravel road to the parking area and the start of the trail. With a quick last check of the map, our two trucks started our journey onto the trail. At one point of the trail, we pulled to the side as Oxford was keeping up the tradition of holding up traffic no matter what the road. As the day went on, we even let Chris try his hand at driving the 65-year-old Land Rover.
I think Oxford's one hell of a station wagon. Take that anywhere.
performed flawlessly, 10 out of 10 for me.
Before we could leave Peters Mill Run Trail, I had to ask Charles one more question. Hey Charles, why'd you take the top off Oxford?
Because it's hot, but it's cool.
That was a great day on the trails with Charles and Chris, and it was enough to show that Oxford was healthy enough to keep on her journey. She wasn't perfect, but as they say, the show must go on. Our next step was to drive Oxford northwest from Virginia into Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where we meet up with John Costage and Harold Beisel from the Center Steer podcast.
My name's Harold Beisel. I live in Latrobe, PA. I have a business called Jag Speed Motor Works. I've been here about 20 years. I'll work on anything British, but pretty much all I do nowadays is Land Rovers. So the name Jag Speed comes from the fact that I was a Jag guy for a long time. I was into the British sports cars, but it's not what you might think. It's not about making British sports cars go faster. It's not Jag Speed, it's Jag Speed. It's a past tense of what they have done upon the floor of my shop.
I'm John Costage from North Huntington, Pennsylvania. I'm the host of the Center Steer podcast, a podcast by, for, and about Land Rover owners. I've done it a few times.
Couple times.
The
The original Land Rover podcast.
original, the first, the second, back to the original.
Can't call ourselves only, but
The Center Steer podcast was an idea conceived actually around the campfires at Mar, where we were talking about our Land Rovers and our trucks and the activities we did for the day. And that became the notional idea for the podcast, to talk about our trucks and what the adventures we had taken in them.
drinking beers and telling lies.
Oxford is now moving north from Virginia into the small town of Gettysburg, located on the central and southern edge of Pennsylvania. Gettysburg is the home to the Gettysburg National Military Park and the site of one of the major battles of the American Civil War. 4 months after the battle, President Abraham Lincoln visited the battlefield and took part in a dedication ceremony for the cemetery for the fallen soldiers. There, he gave one of his most famous speeches, the Gettysburg Address. The speech was short, at just over 270 words, and only lasted about 2 minutes. However, this speech has lived on to remind Americans the cost of democracy and the great task that lies before us in preserving it for the future. We made a short visit at the museum and paused for a few moments on a bench with President Lincoln. Afterwards, we started on our tour, reflecting back on his historic words.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those here who gave their lives that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus so far nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
After saying our goodbyes, I passed Oxford off to John and Harold, and they proceeded from Gettysburg to Latrobe, Pennsylvania, which lies just 40 minutes to the east of Pittsburgh, along the Lincoln Highway.
It's on Route 30 that we got the famous photo that is said to be Tim Slessor's favorite photo. Our good friend Dana Ruxey, who's a professional photographer, it was in the chase vehicle and was able to take the picture of Oxford as a silhouette with the setting sun up in the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah, we did pass by the Flight 93 Memorial, because that's Route 30 is very close to that, close to Shanksville. We did pass by there. Due to speed and timing, we didn't care to stop. Just wanted to keep going and getting to Latrobe.
As it was getting dark, and as some of you may know, the headlights are merely ornaments on that truck.
No, there are no headlights.
My name is Mark Love. I've been working on Rovers for a little over 20 years, and I've got well over 100,000 miles on driving series trucks. So Harold called me and gave me the opportunity to come down and check out Oxford and
guess
help,
what's in my shop, dude?
Yeah, help doctor it up a little bit to try and make it continue on its journey. I brought some parts with me. I brought a fresh rebuilt starter, a couple other things, a couple tools, and we dug into it and found quite a few more problems than we expected. The steering relay was just everything but seized up, which made it really tough to steer. That's why Harold's arm was burning off.
Yeah, my elbow still hurts.
The starter was dragging pretty bad, pulling a lot of amperage. The battery was pretty weak, and the carburetor was not a happy camper at all. And I think we pulled the distributor and worked on the points too, didn't we? I believe the points were pretty well closed up on it. So basically, it got a carburetor change, a tune-up. We pulled we put some ATF in the steering relay and worked that 10,000 times back and forth. Put the starter in. You put another battery in it that you had here.
We swapped batteries.
Clean terminals, and when we were done, it was actually running pretty darn nice. I took it for a ride through town, and it was sort of hard to assess the vehicle because the thrill of getting to drive it was just overwhelming. It just, I mean, I read the book years ago and never ever thought I'd have an opportunity to be sitting in the driver's seat and motoring around Latrobe with that truck. So it was sort of hard to take everything in. But the big thing was we wanted to make it, with what we had, the parts we had, etc., we wanted to get it ready for the next folks to drive.
So after Oxford got a checkout with Harold and Mark, we took it into Pittsburgh as a trial run before we go to the Vintage Grand Prix on the weekend.
Scouting locations for photos.
And we were then heading into downtown Pittsburgh when we were in Oakland when Oxford stalled at a traffic light at a busy intersection. At which point there
were buses all around.
And there were buses all around. And we thankfully had stalled where they had recently placed. Where we had stalled was turning onto a busy one-lane road that is 4 lanes wide, right in front of the Cathedral of Learning, which is near the University of Pittsburgh. There in the chase vehicle, Dana and Harold, they get out of the chase vehicle, which is my 110, and they then proceed to push Oxford around the bend, down Fifth Avenue.
Up the hill around the bend.
Up the hill, around the bend, and we beach it in front of the Cathedral of Learning, where one should not park, but we had to because it was the safest place.
Yeah, we just didn't have the juice to crank the starter, and bump starting it wasn't working. So yeah, the option is to get it towed.
We called AAA, and Oxford was loaded onto the flatbed, and we headed back to Latrobe, and we followed along. That's the fastest Oxford had ever gone.
Yeah, we got a call from Oxford's North American caretaker saying that he'd gotten a GPS ping that Oxford was doing 65 miles per hour on the interstate and wanted to know what was up.
We have returned to Harold's shop after having to be flatbedded from Pittsburgh. We're now attempting to see if it will start because we returned it to the shop. No.
Nope.
Okay, good. Then we feel better.
So it was worth the tow.
It was worth the tow.
After a few more hours in the workshop, Oxford was ready to visit the site of the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, another event that Oxford was supposed to attend, but was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
And we camped out. We had a space area which is right on the course where the Vintage Grand Prix takes place.
Right at the big hairpin where the cars come screaming around.
And we had a gathering of Land Rover owners there, and also passersby came and saw Oxford. Got to check it out. We also drove on the course a little bit that we could. We also got a very nice photo from our friend Dana Ruxey on the course.
Just an unbelievable story that somebody could rescue that being used, sitting idle as a chicken coop, bring it back to life, ship it over here, and trust it to people that he never met in his life, and have it run all around the country. Everybody treated it as their own, cared for it as their own. Whatever work they did, whatever parts they did, nobody ever wanted compensation for anything. Everybody was privileged to do it. There's not too many items in this world that you could do that with. How many people would just say, here it is, have fun and let me know how it's going.
You've never talked to Adam.
No, I've never spoken to him.
Or put in a museum and never used, and not allowed to be touched.
I got to drive his truck and work on his truck, and it's like John said, one of the most historic Rover vehicles out there, and it's just an unbelievable experience to get to be part of that.
Yeah, I got to wrench on it, I got to drive it, I got to stand on the seat and pop my head out the roof vent like they did back in the day. I mean, that was an iconic experience as much as anything else, I think.
It was certainly a privilege to be able to drive Oxford in any sense. I mean, it was a privilege to sit behind Oxford, sit in Oxford, let alone drive it. And being able to drive it even for a short period of time, it's just an amazing experience. And yeah.
Well, that wraps things up for this episode of Oxford America, and I hope you enjoyed it. Join us next time when Oxford moves westward across the country to see new places, face new challenges, and make new friends.